leaders and say, you are the ones who have to stand up when arts is immediately getting cut. Yep, or...
Especially for the youth development programs, how do you interest young people initially in participating and taking the music lessons that you offer?
It's a great question in terms of how do we engage young people to begin with. We have extensive community interactions and outreach that we have. So our director of education, who unfortunately couldn't be here with us today, is out in the community far more often than she's in the office. And we work with churches, and she is basically a known quantity in the communities that we go into. We simply cannot, do a nice brochure and send it out and be like, isn't this great? We have this great program. The communities that we work in simply don't operate that way. A lot of the schools that we're in, they actually have washing machines in the basement so they can wash kids' clothes and, and of course have high, free and reduced lunch programs, things like that. And so we look at how can we best interact, and so we're working with faith-based institutions, and often one of our big targets for our programs is that we try to identify a champion at a particular school or community center. And then our education director works very closely with them as we look at recruitment. And I would say it's not just recruitment, but retention is huge. So when we started our Overture program, we probably had almost half of the students dropping out. And now we're probably up to about 90%. And that's because we simply won't let them. So we have a whole process that we go through that is only possible because we know their principals, we know their parents, and or we know the parents in the neighborhood who know them. The last thing I would add about that is whenever possible, we try to focus on having parent-to-parent contact, not sphinx-to-parent contact. So we try and engage that as much as possible. We find that parents and families are far more receptive when that type of information comes from friends and family.
You answered part of the question I had already. But what is the typical age of entrance of the kids into the program, and what would be their typical age of matriculation?
We have, again, it depends on our program. So the competition, which is of course a very high level, we have our junior division that's up to the age of 18. And Randall actually is one of our youngest winners at the age of 13. We've had entrants as young as 11. And then our senior division is 18 to 26. For our Overture program, we are going kind of younger and younger. And so now we're kind of even 7 or 8 years old up through about, kind of 12 to 14. And then our Preparatory Music Institute and our summer programs are basically 11 to 17.